Video killed the video star. I'm Rebecca Lieb.
I'm Jason Horton.
And this is Ghost Town.
The attacker that has been identified as the woman that came here and opened fire on YouTube has been identified as a woman that was making YouTube videos. It was her father that told authorities, warning them that she hated the company, and the family, before this shooting happened, reached out to authorities asking them to check on her before this shooting took place.
The shots rang out just before 1 p.m. Tuesday, lunch hour for hundreds of workers at YouTube's headquarters.
We have a report of subject with a gun. They heard 7 to 8 shots being fired. This will be from the YouTube building.
On April 3rd, 2018, Nasim Aghdam, 38, went on a shooting spree at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California, injuring 3 people before turning the gun on herself. A 36-year-old man was injured and 2 women, aged 32 and 27, and there was another injury of somebody fleeing and hurting their ankle, but there was 3 more critical injuries. And this one we talked about doing this one, and then I put it off, and then I revisited again, and I think because it is it's pretty dark, very recent, which is kind of not my jam when it comes to these. I like things a little more on the historic side. But this one kind of felt a little bit personal to me because of all the work I've done with YouTube over 11 years.
Yeah.
And I might not have found myself doing something like this podcast if not for YouTube. And the reasons Nasim Aghdam did this is very resonant with me in the same way that people in Hollywood, when, success and failure, you put so much into something and when you feel like it's being taken away. I also felt like this when we were doing something as really minimal as improv and all the work you put in. And then when you feel like something is taken away, you don't become part of something, how much it really takes a toll on you emotionally. And she was very disgruntled with YouTube, as a lot of people are.
Yeah.
For good reason, I guess, depending on who you ask and what the situation is. But, her videos she felt were being demonetized and she felt like the visibility of her videos was being like shadow banned almost, whereas being suppressed, I think it might be a better word. And there's so many things happening with YouTube as it's grown over the years. And, they're not very forthcoming with the algorithm for a lot of good reasons. And I just felt very personal to this one because one, I related to her on a certain level. Obviously, not to that degree, and obviously it's never really just this. Yeah. But this is the thing,
the catalyst for sure. And I think you're right. I think we don't realize how invested we are in something. Like you're into it until there's some kind of trigger point, be it like numbers or be it some evidence that you're being suppressed or be it, not getting on an improv team, like all these things. And something inside of you is feels a certain way and it's very powerful and it can often be very heartbreaking or, an elation kind of a thing. And you're so bound up in your self-worth. Your self-worth is so bound up in this thing, this amorphous thing. Success.
It has, just like a lot of social media, it has numbers attached. It has analytics attached. So you're putting a value on yourself through these numbers. It's like every single day you're rating yourself. Yeah. And, we just talked about the documentary, The Social Dilemma.
Yes.
Which a lot of people are talking about. And a lot of those things I'm aware of, because I just am just from working with so many people over the years, although I'm not free or safe from a lot of those pitfalls. By no means. I'm just like everybody else. Hopefully not as bad as some, not hopefully, but not as bad as some people. And some people are just more versed and educated on it than I am. But from watching that, we just constantly put a value on ourselves. And every day it's like a game of hot or not. Every single day, everything you put out there, and especially when there's money involved and you take that money away, it's a lot of it is just, it's very heartbreaking. And I've worked with YouTube directly, and I'm so eternally thankful for as much criticism as I have of YouTube for certain reasons. I'm eternally grateful for all the opportunities I've gotten. I've worked at a YouTube London, YouTube New York, obviously in Los Angeles. I've made a living from it. I've learned so much, and I'm just so appreciative of all those things. And I've worked with so many people directly. And when I hear a story like this, I think about the people that I've met along the way. And I was like, it's those people. And in just the last 2 weeks, I was working with YouTube and Google again. I do a lot of beta testing. I do a lot of kind of my feedback into what they're doing. And I've been doing that for years. So I'm on a Zoom call looking at these people, and I've never watched Silicon Valley. But they all kind of look like they could be on the show. It's not even a nerdy thing, but I was like, you all look like the part.
Collared shirts, clear glasses.
Yeah, like cool, but also cool.
Good haircut.
Yeah, cool, but they don't care that they look cool. Highly intelligent and highly intelligent in what they do. And I'm just talking to these people, and I'm thinking about this at the same time. And I'm like, it becomes so personal, I guess, to me. I don't know why I let this do this. And that's why I just put it off. And I was like, this is just, I don't know. And plus, I was just like, I didn't feel like being so dark, but I was
we also have had a run of darkness, I would say. I brought on a lot of dark themes last week, so I get it. But also, again, there's a kind of a catharsis to hearing stories like this in lots of different ways. So
this will be one of those stories, and I got reminded of this because when this happened, obviously everyone in many different communities was talking about it. It was very, very shocking and very recent. And I was listening to the podcast just because somebody turned me on to it, Rabbit Hole, which was really, really good. And they talk a lot about YouTube. And that's the part that really interests me the most. There's a lot of radicalization, but it's the way YouTube, some of the things YouTube has done algorithmically that has been a little bit suspect and should be suspect, but also YouTube, I'll say this, has become successful and made a lot of money and brought in a lot of people and a lot of traffic off of content that they then decided, you know what, we now can make more money from bigger brands. So we want to make this a little more safe and family friendly or whatever the case may be. But they did it off the backs of a lot of people, not everyone. I mean, I don't agree with everyone. They've made a lot of money off the backs of alt-right, far left, controversial stuff, stuff that I don't, agree. A lot of people got radicalized, and it's because of YouTube, and it's the way they take, like, oh, you like this? Well, instead of, and listen, it's everyone is their own person. It's not YouTube's job to babysit you, and I get that. They're a business. They're there to make money. But what is they claim a social responsibility, and what is that social responsibility? So instead of being like, well, you know what? Yeah, we're serving you a bunch of this. Oh, you like this Nazi stuff? How about more Nazi stuff?
Exactly. We're going to put this in, they talk about this in the Social Dilemma too.
Absolutely,
if you are not
I think it's the same person responsible working on the algorithm is also interviewed on that. So I heard that first, and that is,
it's like they're holding your hand down the wormhole of extremism.
Instead of saying, oh, you know what, you've been watching a lot of Nazi stuff. How about something to balance that out? Or how about another? And,
if this Havdalah service.
This could go for anyone going down one thing. Hey, listen, if you're a animal rights vegan person, here's some very extreme thing of blowing up buildings. And this will tie into what we're going to talk about with Nasim Aghdam. Her jam was a couple of different things, it seems. It was animal rights, vegan, fitness, fashion, a lot of different things. And her look is so striking. She has a very striking look. It kind of reminds me of photos initially of like Patty Hearst when she was like in that Symbionese Liberation Army kind of look. She has a very strong, almost like powerful, like militant look, like not expressionless, like full of expression, but her face is just not moving. And some people on Reddit were claiming that like what her face does is indicative of her, why she's like this. And I couldn't speak to that because no one really agreed, but where you don't make any facial expressions because you don't want to tip people off on how you are psychologically or something like that. But when you look at a picture of her, you will be, it will hit you. Yeah. And her content is pretty intense. I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at her. And see
when we talked about this last, I did some looking, and it's really, striking is a great word, like disturbing. But yeah, she has this kind of like fashionable, but like purposefully, like everything about her feels thoughtful, like the way she styles herself, like what's happening, but also like not at all. Like it's very strange.
It's strange. It's a little all over the place, but I think it's genuine in that strangeness, which I think makes this whole story and this whole situation, so I don't know. It again, like it's really, it's personal probably to a lot of people because, this is the kind of thing that happens and you worry that it happens. And I mean, really how she even got onto, going to any of these places in 2018 now, back in 2009, when I started going, it's not, you can't just waltz in, and she came in through the garage, and I don't know, I don't know if she just kind of blended in, and I really couldn't really dig in deep in like how she did that. But also the police talked to her like, I don't know if it was like 18 hours before. So hours before she was stopped by the police, I think she was just in her car, and, they were just like, hey, but how, I mean, listen, how are the police going to know? But they also, the parents were like, because she's 38, which you have to imagine, and her parents were like, hey, our daughter is missing. And it's like, well, your daughter is 38. Yeah. And she's only been gone from home a short amount of time, but that should tell you something. Your 38-year-old didn't run away from home. Yeah. I guess it kind of depends because there's not a thing. She wasn't in a...
No, that speaks to like the culture and the relationship that her parents have with her. And obviously they knew more about the situation than everyone else did. So it's this like heads up tip off. But again, everyone's like, she's 38. Like she's a grown-ass adult woman. But, that should speak to something that her parents were that concerned.
There's also a lot of, even from her family, and, I couldn't really find people that knew, you know what I mean? Like knew her, but everyone's like, she was really, we didn't see this coming. I find that's always the case. Like no one has ever seen this coming. But when the daughter, when she ended up missing, you didn't do that because you were like, oh, she's just out with her other 40-year-old friends. Yeah. You knew there was something up. So I know the story is, and you want to protect the people in your family. And listen, I don't know what I would do in that case, but it's any true crime thing you watch. It's like, listen, they were totally cool. They were totally chill. And then this thing happened. It's like, I have a feeling that they never once sneezed and seemed upset about it. Yeah. Everything is... And listen, you want to protect the legacy, and you don't want people to automatically assume that somebody, and blame it on something and pigeonhole them. And
sure,
understand that.
But I also think like a discussion around this is really valuable too, And so where you're trying to do honor to the people involved, and obviously it's a really complicated and sensitive situation. I think there is some worth in talking about it and figuring out why things like this happen and figuring out how to prevent things, because we're very important. We will solve it right here on this podcast.
Yes.
But, I think talking about it too, as embedded as we all are in social media, in our identity, is our work or our creativity. Like that is all really worthwhile conversation.
A little bit of backstory. She was born in Urmia, Iran. And I always say Iran because that's how it's the only way I've ever heard it said growing up, especially in the 80s. There was always a hostage situation, and that actually came into where I lived in Stewart Airport in 1981. The hostages were, I think, it was in Iran, right? The Iranian hostage. They came into the town that I lived in. It was a very, very historic thing.
So you got a connection.
And immigrated to the U.S. with her family in 1996. Again, vegan bodybuilding, fitness, fashion, animal rights, very strong. Also, a lot of her videos are, just like also there's like some of it's in there's a Turkish website that some of the stuff's on, and a lot of it's also subtitled as well. Finding her stuff, you have to like find it.
Yeah.
There's certain I found Facebook pages that were like a memorial and kind of a celebration. So it's strong, and it's very intense stuff, to say the absolute least. But she was quoted as saying, "There is no equal growth opportunity on YouTube or any other video sharing site. Your channel will grow if they want it to. YouTube filtered my channels to keep them from getting views." The reality of that is absolutely, possibly, but there's also so much content is being pumped on YouTube all the time. Algorithms change that they might favor you. They used to be short video, and then it became long videos because more watch time. And there's so many different things happening all at once. And I've been in tons of meetings where I would, we'd ask, hey, how does this, and the people, either they don't know, they won't tell you. Because if you know how the algorithm works, you'll game the system.
Yeah.
You'll capitalize it. And I understand that, but you also, they want you to do well, but they don't want to tell you how to do well.
They don't want to give it to, they don't want to make it your power or your responsibility for the utmost of success. Like, they want you to do well and you to keep doing things because that's important to them, but having the ultimate control over it is there.
Information wise, there's, you do know there's certain things that kind of, key you in on, and there are definitely, people that are very, very popular on the site, and that kind of changes where they have some priority, especially with advertisers and such. But I know the feeling, I know the feeling when channels just like, oh, so I guess all the work and energy, money that I made for you, traffic that I gave to you, now is no good anymore. Now you're too good for, but executives bought braces for their kids with blood money.
Yeah.
They paid off their summer homes or their rent or their credit cards or their dinners with blood money. And you could say that about it's not just YouTube, it's any of these sites, but YouTube is definitely, and they've done a lot of good, and I say the good outweighs the bad, but they've been taken to task, and I feel like I've been part of that, but also it's like, well, nobody forced me to you know what I mean? They're private companies and
So when you say they built on the backs of these people and then fallen out of favor or they shift focus, you mean to say they use these videos to create revenue and then these videos gone, or they just are, deprioritized again and put into obscurity? What does that specifically mean?
Well, let's just pretend I'm an advertiser. I'm whatever it is I'm selling. I'm selling Nike, right? Nike's not a sponsor.
No, not yet.
Not yet, or probably ever.
Probably ever.
Because,
do we want Nike? That's a good question too. Hard to say.
And Nike's like, yeah, we want to spend money with you. How many people do you have looking at your site per day? What are those metrics? And when they give them those metrics, Nike's like, ooh, that's very good. What they're not saying is those metrics come from, sexy comedy videos, pranks.
Yeah.
Questionable,
exploitative.
Families essentially exploiting their kids and families for better. Not everyone's doing. Listen, I'm very critical of that, but not everyone is doing that. And you could even throw alt-right, conspiracy theories, all of that stuff over the years, and still does in a lot of ways, has built that number. So then they can be like, hey, Nike, do you want to do this? And Nike's like, that's very impressive. Here's our money. There's so much more within this. But then YouTube's like, well, we have Nike showing up. We can't have the riffraff here anymore. Now they're like, riffraff, now you become a second-class citizen, and then we just build up, kid-friendly stuff.
Yeah, so second-class citizen means what?
Second-class citizen means the videos that we once were very happy to take your money.
Yeah, alt-right, conspiracy,
all that. And
shit.
listen, I do not support that stuff.
Yeah.
I would rather it not be there.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But it's hypocritical.
It's very hypocritical of me to say. But in
but again, just from YouTube, the platform.
Oh, absolutely, it's absolutely hypocritical because again, they were taking that money, they were using it to build their business, whether it was to put in one more light fixture or one more parking space.
Totally,
they use that, and now
Nike comes in. They're like, oh shit, let's clean house. Nike's here.
Let's demonetize to be like, oh no, we won't. And it that's YouTube's fault because they weren't like, hey, why are you putting this family-friendly Tide detergent on this, prank video of people falling out of buildings? And Tide would be like, I don't know why I picked Tide.
Tide.
We're just letting you know that we can shill at a turn of a corner.
You give us a product, we will try to work it in poorly into this. Okay.
But then Tide will be like, hey, why is my content on people falling out of windows?
Yeah.
Which is totally understandable for Tide.
Yeah.
They're absolutely right to say that, because YouTube
sold them a dream, a different story.
They were like, we'll advertise your stuff, but we won't vet where it goes. Or we didn't realize that, and, I've heard speeches from the CEO, and they're just like, we didn't realize. There's a lot of things. And,
exactly. It's also like, is the onus on Tide or YouTube or both,
Exactly. So, but what they did was like, well, we got to clean house. So it's just, you watch a thing where it's like, you had your friends and your friends help you get to where you are now. But then you made, new, hotter, cooler, richer friends. And then you tell your old friends to take a hike. Yeah. Which I'm not opposed to. I'm looking for when is that going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't have any friends to get rid of.
No, well, I could leave.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll leave my own house.
I get it. For that. But it's essentially something like that. And, I'm actually surprised more people don't feel, I'm not saying more people have done this, but demonetization of YouTube and but it does. I mean, it leads to a lot of depression, I'm sure. You put a lot of value in a lot of things. She actually went to a gun range the Tuesday morning before going to the headquarters. The Smith & Wesson 9mm, legally, registered, that was found at the scene.
People are like, how did this happen? We never saw this coming. It's like, when? No, everything saw this coming,
I mean, yeah, literally. I mean, when somebody's just parked somewhat nearby in this area and you're like, hey, what's going on? You've been reported missing. Yeah. Okay, but also it's like, I'm a 30-year-old woman. Like, it's a very kind of strange situation. And they do get in whether, I think somebody in their family did warn that this might happen, and nothing was done about it. And we'll get into that after a break.
Okay, yeah, let's break it up.
Hey, true crime fans, Ashley and Ricky here with Crime Salad. We're a true crime podcast delivering a healthy portion of crime every other Wednesday. If you have an interest in true crime or you're looking for your next podcast to binge, join us as we take you through a 25-minute true crime story tossed with jaw-dropping details that you crave. One of our favorite cases we covered is titled The Butcher of Plainfield, where we talk about Ed Gein and his unusual crimes that have actually influenced a number of disturbing horror films, including The Silence of the Lambs. Be a Crime Salad investigator with us by listening to Crime Salad at work or on your daily commute. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello.
I know that was pretty heavy and it'll get heavier, but...
It will, but for now.
Let's check in. Yes. How are you doing?
Hello. Are you hydrating? Are you getting sunlight? Are you doing what you need to do for you?
Did you get your flu shot like I did?
You got your flu shot?
I got a flu shot.
I got a tooth extracted. Is that the same thing?
That's probably more beneficial. I got an eye exam.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I just got one, and she was like, "These are too strong. Where'd you get them?" And I didn't want to tell her it was at Costco. And when I told her, I told the optometrist, she was like, "Okay, so those are too strong." And also, I have to go to a glaucoma specialist, which I knew because I have it's hereditary.
So you're hanging in there.
Can you spare some oppression for me? You know what I mean?
Just a bit.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a couple tiny morsels. Yeah, I got, I was worried about today a little bit because I got a tooth extracted and a bone graft in that.
But I wouldn't let you not do it. I was like, I'll do all the
Yeah, I'm drooling out of the side of my face right now. No, I feel great. I feel great. Finally, a tooth that doesn't bother me. It's like a world of difference. It's a little win for me, a little personal win in this dark world.
We lean on our government officials. Mm-hmm. Our mayors,
sure do.
Jeanette Link, Braden Gaddis, Ben Forsyth, Silent Sam, hello, Ashley Matson.
Close to Ashley Madison. Every time you say that, I'm like, okay, pull it back, Rebecca.
Good branding.
Yeah.
And our mayor, Chris Witt. We
bless
hope you're all
you.
doing well, and anyone who's been a patron and helped to support.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The book is out.
The book is out.
Abandoned in Historic Los Angeles, Neon and Beyond. It's out where you get books.
It's in the world.
It's out there in the world. Thank you to anyone who's, even listened to me say it. I'll be cutting back on that. But we're going to be doing a bunch of little events in October.
We are.
A couple virtual book stuff, some fun stuff.
Exactly.
And we'll let you know when those are if you just want to hear some. And it's going to be Halloween related, so it'll tie into that. So we're getting a little Halloween fix. And we're going to have some Halloween fun.
Yeah.
I've been doing some location scouting for the movie Halloween. Hello, that might be coming up. I went to where the Hillside Strangler.
That's amazing.
It's on TikTok, which is Ghost Town Pod. But it's patreon.com/Ghost Town Pod. And thank you to anyone who supported or anyone who's listening in general.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you to anyone who's given a nice rate and review. Got a lot of nice rate and reviews on Apple Podcast and my YouTube channel. Just put up some new videos, and that's youtube.com/Jason Horton. We are also the Ghost Town Podcast one if you'd like to listen to it. And it's YouTube. It's Ghost Town Podcast. All the stuff is out there. It's all for you, and we'll have some fun stuff in October. And again, I had some people reach out and kind of trying to follow up. But if you're somebody who has ideas for episodes and likes to do the research on them, not that we won't also, because we want it to be we're not going to just blindly look at it, but source your stuff. And you're somebody that's into doing that, and it's very well organized.
Yes.
Rebecca likes doing that.
I love it.
I don't like doing it.
Jason and I have different likes and skill sets when it comes to this podcast. But that would be very helpful.
Just let us know if that's something that interests you, because people, reach out with really great stuff, and I'll go in and look at all this, but it's so much stuff. But if there's something you're like, I'm really passionate about this, or I'm from this town, and you want to do the research, please reach out. You can ghosttownpod at Gmail or Instagram, ghosttownpod, however you want to reach out.
Please do.
Please do.
And also, I'm sure, if there's something, a personal relationship with the suggestion of something that you've researched, send in a clip too. Anything that we can incorporate you into the process, it's always much more fun. It's very gratifying.
Yeah, if you have audio, we're happy to add it in there if it's contextual and whatnot. Yeah. We'll happy to do that.
Yeah, but we have a lot of fun things coming up, a lot of Halloween stuff. You might be able to see our faces more. We'll be in different venues, again, promoting Jason's book. It's very exciting. It's all kind of coming together, hopefully in a really fun way.
There's a couple of winners I'll be emailing, the people that won the book. A couple of winners that won the book. But you can find it anywhere. You can go to ghosttownpod.com/book or local bookstores or wherever. And if you want an autographed one, we have a couple of boxes coming.
Yeah.
We got a couple $1,000s worth of books coming.
Yeah, I'll autograph anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything.
Rebecca wrote the forward. She's got some pics in there.
How do you like a good forward autograph by nobody? Me?
I don't even know how you really spell forward. Is a word for that? Is like a very short. It's a forward. I remember when I was writing.
I'm now the published author of a forward.
Yeah.
So where is my key to the city?
Rebecca from Gmail and from forward from one forward.
That's right.
So we got to go back to San Bruno.
Yeah.
Aghdam, she lived in San Diego, and she made the trip to San Bruno. What is that? 8-9 hours?
Where exactly is San Bruno?
In the Bay Area.
Okay.
Silicon Valley-ish.
Okay, yeah. That's a real
Mountain View
substantial...
Drive, I think, is the address.
I would say 8 hours is probably conservative.
So when people have that deliberate, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not like you were in Santa Cruz or San Francisco and you're like, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to go down to San Bruno and kind of exact my revenge or whatever, however she kind of took it. So what happens around lunchtime? It's like lunchtime on a campus.
Yeah.
On April 3rd, employees of YouTube HQ reported gunshots in the building. Some called 911. A lot of tweets were going out as you see.
Yeah.
The San Bruno police say the officers arrived on the scene within a few minutes receiving the call. I'm sure there's local policemen that are on local security. Yeah. And as they were arriving, the employees were evacuating, and they encountered one person with a gunshot wound, and 2 other injured employees had already left the campus to get medical attention.
Hey, so you were reported as missing. Yeah, as missing from San Diego?
Yeah, I left my family.
Okay.
So I don't live with them anymore.
You don't live with them anymore? Okay. Can I just ask, if you don't mind, why you left?
We don't get along together, so I left them.
Okay. Do you have ID on you by chance? So So did you just decide to move, or?
Yeah, right now I'm leaving my car until I find a job.
Were you just not getting along with your family?
Yeah, my brother.
With your brother?
So the body cam footage is what
Yeah.
you can find that online, because officially her videos are not out, but they are. But this body cam footage, she reported missing by the family 11 hours before. I said 18 hours before. Sorry, it's 11 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Still a long amount of time.
Yeah.
And she traveled that distance. Why? Oh, you're from San Diego? Why are you in very near San Bruno?
Yeah.
Why? Like, and again, it's not, I don't want to encourage, police harassing people, but
Yeah, a little more, maybe a couple more questions, just a couple more.
Assess the situation. But if she has no criminal record and is, she's not ranting and raving, like, I guess why would you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was, at like 1:40 a.m. Mm-hmm. They found her car overnight at Mountain View parking lot about 30 miles southeast of YouTube headquarters. Quick check of her license plate revealed that the owner had been reported missing from the San Diego area. We contacted the woman inside the vehicle who was sleeping in her car.
Yeah.
To check on her to determine if she was the same person that was reported missing. She was featured in a 2009 story from the San Diego Union Tribune about a PETA protest against the use of pigs in the military trauma training outside Camp Pendleton in California. At the demonstration, Aghdam was dressed in a wig and jeans with drops of painted blood on them and held blood is not actual blood, held a plastic sword. For me, animal rights equal human rights, she told the Union Tribune at the time. It's just you're very enthusiastic about what you believe in.
None of this feels like super egregious yet. And even there, I think there's a version of this that's very heroic where it's like you're standing up for what you believe in, and you're like doing what you can and you're driving up to the source to right wrongs. And it's like, it's obviously not that and much more complicated than that. And it's turned, but I think there's a part of it that I really get on board with when you talk about stuff like that, the activism component.
When they talked to police, it was about a 20-minute conversation. She didn't mention anything about YouTube, or she was upset with them, or planned to harm herself. But that's how many people do mention. I'm sure if she was like, "Oh, I'm going to YouTube headquarters on a suicide mission," they'd be like, "Well."
But did they ask her where she was going?
You watch the video. She's just very she's just very quiet. I mean, I don't know if I'm looking at it, with a different lens, but it looks suspicious.
Yeah.
I mean, but also, it's also could be not suspicious. It could just be, somebody's kind of eccentric.
Exactly.
Aghdam's brother said he called the police about his sister and said that she had a grudge against YouTube. So he was obviously, I'm sure it wasn't peep one from her saying.
Yeah, exactly.
YouTube. I mean, I when I was upset about YouTube, or my collective of people were upset about things, which sometimes we literally voiced to YouTube. Yeah. And, it's a lot of program people that, they don't listen. They don't, they don't know. It's above their pay grade, but it's not the first they have heard of it. And she obviously had a hardline view on what she believed in. Her brother called ABC affiliate KGTV that her family reported her missing over the weekend. Family became more concerned when the police had located her vehicle in Mountain View, 30 miles southeast of YouTube headquarters. So she just kind of left her vehicle there and was gone.
And 30 miles away, too.
I Googled Mountain View and it was close to YouTube headquarters, and she had a problem with YouTube. That's what he told KGTV.
Yeah.
So I called the cop again and told him there's a reason why she went all the way from San Diego to go there, and she might do something. They didn't do anything. And again, is there so up in that area? They're like, listen, I don't know what was happening in 2018, but I can't imagine that the police were like, we're way too busy. I figured they'd be like, let's throw some people at the entrance.
Yeah. Or also, it's like YouTube is a pretty big company. It's got a pretty
I'm
big
sure there's
headquarters.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that could theoretically ex-employees, people with the grudge. There's just people that don't agree with what they think YouTube represents, corporations, and, I'm sure they they definitely have their own security. Yeah. But I remember in 2017, I worked at a company that was, kind of a YouTube-based company, and we got death threats. We were in a lockdown because somebody, and I had nothing to do. I was just somebody that was like a analytics kind of person, like a manager type person, because they said that they didn't like the way this company talked about DC Comics.
God.
And how they always preferred Marvel. And I was like, I like DC and I don't care.
Yeah.
So we were in a lockdown based on this in 2017 on a way smaller scale. Yeah. So I understood, and I've gotten death threats on YouTube before. I mean, it's not the first. So a lot of people, or, pretty hateful comments, and, people doxing you or whatever. So it's a very caustic and vibrant world. So it was kind of surprising, but it's always kind of like, well, you did warn us. We did see her a few hours before. What else could we do, though?
What else do you want?
What else can...
Do you want to see a gun in her lap?
Yeah.
Or, like, what would have done... And again, you probably know how I feel about cops just based on where I live and who I am. But, like, come on. Like, how negligent is this in a context where I think, like you said, there is some hypervigilance happening?
I'm sure people get warned about things that never happened. This seems like it adds up. There's a couple of things that seem to really add up. But according to The Guardian, on social media, she was more than an Iranian immigrant who lived with her grandmother in Southern California. She was an athlete, a fitness guru, a model, a poet, a vegan advocate, an animal rights warrior, and filmmaker. She was glamorous and fought inequality. She was a star. This is according to article. And on a post she wrote on Instagram that's in Farsi. That's a lot of her stuff's in Farsi and translated. I think I'm doing a great job. I've never fallen in love and never gotten married. I have no physical or psychological diseases, but I live on a planet that is full of injustice and diseases. Strong words.
Yeah.
However you want to take it. So according to another one of her posts, there is a vegan parody song called I'll Die. This is a quote from her. This is my first and last professional parody music video. Thanks to Dear Soma for arranging the song and the voice. You can download the full clip and the song from my Telegram channel. Copy the videos that you like as soon as possible because I might delete many of them. Page on veganism and behind the curtain facts of animal products, and at Nasim Isab's 1. So that was like, she had these very strong videos. She would have a video also how to make a fish scale dress, which is kind of like, a weird kind of fashion. Yeah. A song called, or a video called Enemy Day. So pretty strong content, and really unfortunate, but I think it speaks to the power we give people.
Exactly.
And we are freely, we're doing it right now.
We're doing it right now.
We're freely giving.
This goes out on a platform, this podcast.
That we do not own.
Through a network.
Through different platforms that, show it, through different social media, and how it all interconnects, and people invest time listening to it and supporting it. And if something changes, they feel like they've been duped or they feel like they've been betrayed. So there's so much going on. And I wish I had more to offer as far as do less of that, but I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. And I think, like, even if you're not in entertainment or you're not so super interested in this part of it, it's cultural to us all.
Really, I mean, with politics, everyone's a star of their own political voice or their own photos. Like, I'm a model to myself or whatever that is.
Yeah. And like the blurred lines of this woman's life and the blurred lines of all of our lives are so evident, with, like, again, what is the first thing you ask someone when you meet them is like, what is your job? Like, what do you do? Kind of a thing. Like, it's just so easy to get really tied up in it. And it's not like who we are as people. And it's a very dangerous, slippery slope when you add in mental illness, when you add in stress, when you add in,
life.
Strife. Yeah, the stressors again. And the themes and issues that this woman was dealing with, which was, social justice, death of animals, like something where she felt so compelled to be an advocate for. Like, that stuff, when, like, imbalanced, can, like, take over. Like she says herself, like, she's never fallen in love, kind of a thing. She's never
and that's
been married.
For her, it's like, oh, this is a virtue of mine. Like, exactly. I've dedicated my life
to... She's so myopic in her view and her mission, and it's just like, yeah, it speaks to just complete imbalance, and which leads to, these horrible, violent instances. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And if there's one takeaway, and this is something that I've always done, like I've been doing this for years, only because maybe it's my OCD or part of the things that I just can't deal with, but also that documentary Social Dilemma and many other, I've heard this done many times and I've always stuck with it, is if you can turn off your notifications on your phone, turn them off. Don't let your phone or, tell you when you're allowed to. Again, sometimes you might need it for work or something like that. But in generally speaking, if you don't need it, plus I like the surprise if I got an email. I really do. I get a little thrill out of it. And that's why I don't have post notifications on. But I know that if I had it, there was one time I think I turned something on by accident and I hated it immediately. I want to go look at whatever Instagram or something to do with this podcast, and I want to be surprised from it. I don't want to always know that I'm being valued or not valued.
Yeah.
I want to at least go through the extra effort, because that's one less kind of shackle you have tied to the internet, social media, your phone,
totally
not looking inward, I suppose.
And value is a moving target on these platforms too. Like I think too, remember when Vine just got shut down, where it's like people have spent so many years building up their Vine presence. It's like, no, in an instant, it could be gone. Yeah. Like we don't know what's going to happen. These are uncertain times. And like we are not our social media. I guess we should do a recap of the Social Dilemma for
for the
Patreon level.
Alderman up level. Yeah, there's a lot of documentaries coming up. I'm pretty excited about it.
Very excited.
I didn't realize that Vine was a hot button issue for you.
I am keyed up about Vine. If you know one thing about me, love my cat, keyed up about Vine.